Yeah.
Hey, it is Wednesday, my favorite day of the week, because I get to have really cool conversations with incredible people in this amazing community. Before we get started, of course, I have to thank our fearless leader and founder, Miss Shelley Lynn Hughes, because without Shelley Lynn, of course, Laurie-Ell and I would not be here with you today. And of course, too, it's important to thank our Talk Wednesday sponsor, Leanne Miles with the Clinton Wilkins Mortgage team. Leanne is so generous in her sponsorship of these Talk Wednesdays, and we're so appreciative, Leanne. So thank you very, very much for your continued support, and we appreciate you. All right, I have a dynamo in the studio with me today. So Laurie-Ell Bashforth is with me today, coming to you from Jasper, Canada. And I was speaking with Laurie-Ell before we hit record here, and I was just saying that I just feel the mountain, that real Canadian vibe coming from your setting there. So you literally live in one of the most beautiful places on earth. So anyway, thank you for sharing even that that backdrop that anybody that's been to the mountains, it's just, you're right away transported there. So Laurie-Ell, you I love your website. I've been on your website. I've been reading a ton. You are an incredible writer. You truly have a gift, and you can tell. It's funny. Laurie-Ell and I were on here for about 30 seconds, and she was immediately asking me all sorts of questions, which totally put me on my heels. Coming at this interviewer seat, right away, you can just tell she cares about people and is very interested. So, all right, Laurie-Ell. All right, let's unpack this.
Yes, absolutely.
Who you are, what you do, and all the things. So maybe give us a journey from, young Laurie-Ell, with maybe a few highlights along the timeline to where you are today, and then we can unpack some of those moments.
Okay. Well, that's a big ask, but I'll see if I can do it for you. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, let's start with where I am now, which is I'm 52 years old. So let's go from a little bit young to where I am now at 52. I was born in BC, and I grew up in Kamloops, and I love to play outside and adventure and just sort of be with my dog, climb trees. But as I got older, I think I'm a very classic introvert. So when you say I ask you questions, that's a skill that introverts learn, right? Very much. To live in an extroverted world, we have to pick up many skills to manage and move our way through. So I was very quiet, and it wasn't until junior high that I had some teachers say to me that they had their kids around, they bring them into class or whatever, and they said, "You're really good with kids. Laurie-Ell, you're amazing with children." And I didn't really pay much attention to it, but it sat with me. And so as I moved through, I thought, okay, here we are heading into university. What do you want to do? Which is always a big life ask. And I'm like, oh, well, all I know is I want to work with children. That's it. I don't know what it's going to be, but that was my North Star. I had no clue what I wanted to do, except I wanted to work with children, whether that was in social work with children, whether that was, law in children. But the last thing I wanted to do was be a teacher. I said, but by no means am I going to be a teacher. I have no idea why that was, but it was just there. So as I moved through into university, I decided, okay, well, I would like to go into speech pathology and work with children. So I started researching that. And in university, speech pathology at that time needed a master's. And so I needed to get my undergrad. And one of the best ways to do that with children was education. So it just sort of flowed. It just went one by one. And so I went into education and I landed there and I said, this is it. I don't need to go any further. This is what I want to do, is be a teacher. So
Wow.
I use that as an example of the way life just literally lands things in front of you. And if you're open and curious and willing to sort of follow those little whispers in your head, it'll just flow for you. So then I began my career as a teacher, which I was a teacher for 23 years. I loved it. I taught everything from everything from kindergarten to grade 12, 17 years in kindergarten. And then I also started teaching the teachers. I became a facilitator. I became what's called a learning coach for my division, for my school. And that was another yes that led me to coaching, which I loved, being an implement for change in our school with my teachers and working with their goals and working with how to manage change, not successfully, but manage it, how to move through it positively. And so it was about 2015, and I've been teaching for 23 years, and there were just some things going on. I was having some physical problems, nothing major, but an actual physical mobility problems. I was having trouble walking. We still don't know what that was, but it just made a day in the classroom really hard, getting up and down with little children. And I was working with the teachers and I said, you know what, I want to do more. I want to move through my leadership calling, which I wasn't sure I was ready for yet, but I didn't want to move into administration. My youngest son was moving on to a professional, an Alberta sports team, the Alberta Freestyle Mogul team, which meant he was going to be traveling a lot. And so all of these little things were saying, you know what, I can't do all of this anymore all together. So I can't be a teacher and try to be a mom and help my child move on with something he wants, be a wife, because by that time my husband, because we're co-owners in our business here, we had opened up our newest pharmacy in Jasper. So he was at that point, we were living in a place called Hinton, 45 minutes away. So he's traveling back and forth. And so it just became too much. So I made the decision to stop teaching or retire from teaching. And in one way, it was heartbreaking because that's where I felt so most at home. But in another way, I was so filled with gratitude, so grateful for that position and how it grew me, that I knew this was the right time. I didn't want to leave when I felt like, hallelujah, good riddance, goodbye. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to say, thank you. You've made me who I am. And it's time for a new change. So that I decided then that, let's go back to school and let's get some certification around my coaching and see what that's going to do for me. So I did that.
So yes, which I've read that. So you are a heart-centered facilitator.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. A heart-centered facilitator, like that. Talk about a lean in moment. Okay,
Oh,
I'm all
yeah, for sure. So that's Danielle Laporte, who I absolutely love. And, I've been following her for many years. This is the biggest thing I notice about life. It is always working for you and finding stuff, dropping things in your lap. And if you don't listen once, it's there again. It'll show up again. And I remember that with Danielle Laporte when I was looking for my coaching. I had looked up many places, like where can I get great certification for coaching, for life coaching, executive coaching. And, Danielle Laporte at that time wasn't doing exactly that, but she came upon my radar, in my research. And I'm like, this woman is amazing. I love her outlook on life. And so that's very much it, heart-centered. So heart-centered facilitator, heart-centered leadership, I think that's where we're moving towards. And that's what I would be a big proponent for. Brene Brown is that's what she has been getting, her journey has been moving her there to say, this is it too. We need to go get back to our heart, get back to our emotions, allow our heart to lead the way. Because it's so often that we've called those from the heart are our soft skills, listening, empathy, compassion, love. And we so often push those things down. We're scared to show it. That's it's vulnerable. Again, Brene Brown, it's vulnerability. And we don't want to show that. And I think that in any sort of leadership position now, we're coming full circle, that we were pushing it all down. Leadership used to be hard and firm and punishing. And that it doesn't work. It doesn't work in a classroom as a teacher. And it doesn't work out in business. So I think
it was always about showing strength, right? And being the best, and sort of that chest pounding and the pressure to not make any mistakes, or to have it all together. I know I struggled with that for so many years, and it's when you actually you have that moment where you think, and we tend to do well, I'm a hot mess, but it's when we tend to have those moments where we just can't keep the facade up anymore, that's when other people completely lean in. So we were talking about you being this heart-centered facilitator, and then you immediately led to Brene. So I just want to interject here and share with people that Laurie-Ell is actually trained. So Laurie-Ell is a certified Erickson International coach, and she's also trained in Brene Brown's Dare to Lead curriculum and Daring Schools curriculum. So, wow, I am a huge Brene Brown fan. I had no idea that those things even existed. So it's even incredible to me now where you can get certified and where you can go to learn and how you can learn, outside of so
many places.
Schooling.
Yeah. It's so many places. If you're willing to just look for it, and you can find it all. Right. Brene Brown has, so many people are familiar with her now, of course, and that's so amazing that her work is out in the world. And I've been, from her very first book, and I think I was in just sort of one of those places as a woman, as a mother. I don't know how old my children were at the time when I first picked up, her first book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And it just went, it's as if she was speaking to me, right? Speaking to me. And so from there, it was just like, what's the next thing? What has she got? What's the next thing coming out? When's her next book? What is this? I just devoured everything. And so when it came about for her Dare to Lead, that one at a time, especially for me too, was about it. Again, it spoke to me as in leadership. I was in a place in my school that I was the classic, my administrators were looking at me, seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself. And so when they would say, no, Laurie-Ell, why don't you come here? Like, you take over for admin today, you do this, or why don't you take on this position, move into a coaching or this. It was like, why are you even looking at me? Why me? I don't get it. I don't see it at all. And so I think that that's really classic for a lot of women, that we don't, it's not even that we're dumbing down our skills. We don't actually see it within us, that we are leaders in everything we do. And that's what I really pulled out from Dare to Lead from Brené Brown, is that we have to take that dare. We have to step into it, because we, especially women, I mean, she speaks to everyone, and I am also always speaking about everyone, but I'm really passionate about women and stepping into that leadership role, daring to lead, because we do it every day. We are leaders as mothers. We are leaders within our families. We are leaders when we step out the door and we face a world that, sometimes wants to slap us in the face. So we are leaders every time we go out, and we have to own that and know that about ourselves, that we've been resilient. And so we have to start looking at ourselves that way.
So is that the foundation now of your coaching practice? And what is your main objective? I guess so. Who is your ideal client? Who is your person that that you live to work with? And again, we want to work with everybody, but we all have that one little specific thing that really lights us up, and that makes people lean in, right? So I'd love to hear a little more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say, what is that thing that it really, hits my heart, is basically it does. I'll say a quote from Brené Brown that is pretty much what I'm about, which is, who we are is how we lead. And let me just speak to that first, because that's about self-awareness. That's about what I talked about, seeing ourselves as leaders, using that term lead. And originally that really hit home because, again, in a classroom, when we have the future in our hands, and as teachers, and I love my teaching cohorts. I love those people, and it is a tough job, but it's a huge responsibility. And sometimes there are many, as in any job out there, that forget that it's a huge responsibility, and it's also the greatest reward you can have. And so remembering that who you are is how you lead, and you're bringing up a generation of people, you had to be the role model. And I didn't see that in a lot of people, a lot. So I wanted to remind them of that. And so that self-awareness of ourselves, I think there's a lot of people who just don't know themselves and know how they move through the world, right? And know and know that they really have design over their environment. So
Right.
that leads me to who I'm talking about. Yeah.
I'm 100% one of those people. You know, like you, I'm 52 years old, and I've spent so much of my life, you know, as that, you know, classic high achiever, you know, and I've really learned I just had blinders on, and I was like just barreling through life and not even knowing really why I was doing it, who I was doing it for, right? I was just on autopilot. So
exactly.
you know, these last like COVID really was such a gift for me because it made me stop. Right?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do the things, and there's been a lot of unpacking, a lot of unpacking. So I can so relate. I can so relate.
Yeah. And I mean, that's human nature. And that's just, we get so busy. And I mean, and I think we're just, again, that heart-centered, we're coming to a place where I think we're introspection is considered valuable, but it's also within higher level achievers or higher level professionals, it's important in order to keep moving yourself forward. And if you're wanting to achieve, you have to become aware of who you are, why you're doing what you do, and how that's affecting the people that you are impacting and working with. So yeah. So who we are is how we leave it. I just think that that's so important to understand and know that that's key. So, you know, you were saying, who are my people? Well, I look at my people and I say, they're my girlfriends. They are, I have 4 amazing girlfriends that have been with me for such a long time, my pack, basically. And they're all, oh my God, they're all just so amazing. They're professionals. They're professional women. They're all in some type of leadership role in the sense that, you know, there are people that look up to them. There are people that they mentor. There are people that are in their employment, right? So they have teams under them. They're also my age. Some are a little bit younger, some a little older, but you know, they're my age because I look at our amazing 20 somethings and oh my God, I'm watching them and saying the empowerment that our 20 somethings sort of have and the way they view the world. You know, I think there's some things that they definitely, you know, they're concerned about and worried about, our climate, our world, our environment, but they're an amazing group and they're very inclusive. They're pretty, you know, positive. But I think our age of people, we didn't have those foundations. We didn't have, you know, I think about home life. I think about the age of our parents, right? And what we grew up in the 70s, for God's sake. We rode around in vehicles with no seatbelts. We didn't know
it. We drank out of the hose.
Oh yeah, exactly, right? Like it's those things that your parents, they only had so much that they knew, but you know, to talk about emotions and it, you know, it was suck it up, buttercup, you know, bury those emotions, put them down. So I think that, you know, you and me at our age and starting to own that stuff and say, you know what, again, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to talk about our weaknesses. It's okay to understand that you know, I hurt because of, but that doesn't make me or my life weak. It makes me strong and I can bring that into everything I do. So it allows us to see the human being in each other, right? We're constantly looking for like stories. And I find that when I look at someone, I'm listening for their story, because everybody has one, right? That compassionate aspect, and
Mhm.
say, tell me about you. What's your story? Because we all have it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So when I was first, doing some research on you, this quote that I've got on the screen here now is on your website, and it reads, "It's never too late to make this place better than we found it, and be happy doing it." And it just
Yeah.
really resonated with me. And when I was, setting up for this interview, that was the first thing, I put into my notes, and I think that really, to me, that gave me such an insight into,
Mm.
who you are at your
Yeah.
core. And I just really wanted to
Yeah.
share that and put that out there. So we could talk all day about all the things, but you've got a beautiful website with a lot of, I mentioned that you're a beautiful writer, and you've got
Thank
a
you.
number of blog posts. You've got lots of great information on
Mm.
there. So is that your main place that you would love to drive people to learn more about you, Laurie-Ell? Or are you more of a social media gal? Or where can
Yeah.
we send people to connect with you or to learn more about you?
Yeah, I think my website is the main place, because that's where I like to upload my writing, right? So, and that is,
Mm.
I am, as I move forward into my, what am I passionate about? What do I love to do? What lights me up? Writing is definitely it, and I'd love to um, increase that and do something even more with that. But at the moment, I mean, this is where I can post it, and I like it to go there. So yeah, you can find me at coachlaurie-ell.com. And I can also just be reached at my email, which is on there in the contact. And you can find me on Instagram. That would be the other main place. Um, so those two places are big.
All right. And is Instagram your name? Is that your
It is.
name?
You'll find Coach Laurie-Ell.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so that's good, because we want people to be able
Yeah.
to track you down, and to be able to read it. You, again, you provide so much content on your website. It is such a great resource, and yeah, that's, again, goes back to the heart-centered, giving side of you, which you clearly are, if you're a coach and a teacher and a leader. And it is about, yeah, making the world a better place. Okay, so before we wrap up here, I don't always,
Yeah.
many times now, and these Talk Wednesdays, I've had a little fun with one particular question.
Okie doke.
So we're learning about all the things, that, teacher, coach, leader. So these are things that we've learned about you in this last half an hour. But if you were to give a TED Talk on nothing that you are known for, what would your TED Talk be about?
Oh, okay. Nothing that I'm known for. It would be about the fact that I am a pretty excellent frog catcher.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Interesting.
It totally is.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know it's kind of crazy, but somehow I have the quick reflexes to see those little guys and manage to catch them. I don't do anything with them, but I mean, I had two boys growing up, and as you heard when I was little, I would love to climb trees. So yes, we were always on the hunt for frogs with my boys, and so we catch them, hold them, look at them, and then we would put them back, release them back into the water and the grasses.
They are they are fascinating little creatures. They really are. Like, they're so
Yeah.
fascinating. We used to catch them when we were kids. I grew up in the sort of in a nature trail area, and between the garter
Yeah.
snakes and the frogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they
are.
I love
Totally.
that. I love that. That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Hmm.
Well, that would be my a whole TED Talk on frog catching, how to do it.
I'm there for it. I am there
Awesome.
for it. All right, Laurie-Ell, thank you so much for sharing just a little bit about you. I feel like we've just scratched the surface, but your essence and your spirit really, really comes through, and you can so tell that you have a passion just to lift others up and to truly make the world a better place. So thank you. I encourage you to keep shining your light. And folks, if you want to learn more about Laurie-Ell and just dig into some fabulous reading, I encourage you to visit her website. And there's so much goodness on there. Laurie-Ell, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you again to Shelley Lynn for this amazing opportunity to be here, and to Leanne for your generous sponsorship of these Talk Wednesdays. All right, folks, until next Wednesday, have a great week, and we'll see you then.
Okay, thank you.